Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds.
Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous two-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass f- So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
On today's Smart 7, Starmer pledges real change at Labour conference, Biden addresses last UN Assembly and much more. It's Wednesday 25th of September, it's Daughter Day and happy birthday to Will Smith.
The Smart 7. It's news, but not the news.
The new Labour government hasn't even been in power for 100 days yet, and things have been difficult. They've cut the winter fuel allowance, we've had grim warnings about austerity, and a £22 billion hole in the public finances. And Prime Minister Keir Starmer's personal popularity has dropped 45 points to below that of Rishi Sunak. So there was quite a lot of pressure on Starmer as he addressed his first Labour conference as PM. Apart from a slip of the tongue that saw him call for the release of the sausages instead of hostages, he delivered a strong speech with plenty of policy, including a new approach to migration, a pledge to crack down on benefit fraud and ease inflation. He was also promising real change.
An NHS facing the future. Town centres thriving. Borders controlled at last. That is what people will get, and mark my words, we will deliver it.
Meanwhile, Home Secretary Yvette Cooper was focused on a new approach to policing, domestic abuse and violent sexual assault.
This government will treat violence against women and girls as the national emergency it really is. A radical, ambitious Labour mission for the whole of the country to halve violence against women and girls in a decade.
Israel has been busy sending mixed messages this week. It's launched wave after wave of brutal airstrikes on South Lebanon. But at the UN, its ambassador Danny Danon was assuring allies that Israel is still hoping for de-escalation and a diplomatic solution. The airstrikes have killed almost 600 people, with over 2,000 bombs dropped in a 24-hour period, and Israel also claimed to have killed a senior Hezbollah commander in a strike on the Lebanese capital Beirut on Tuesday evening. The UK has now ordered British citizens in Lebanon to evacuate as fears grow of an all-out war. However, Israeli government spokesman David Mencer says Israel's only priority continues to be the release of hostages held by Hamas.
Let me start with a reminder of Israel's war aims. They are the return of all of our hostages. Every moment of their captivity is a crime against humanity. They need to be released immediately.
Meanwhile, Sam Rose from the UN Refugee Agency says with no sign of a ceasefire, the situation in Gaza remains desperate.
The majority of those killed and injured are women, children and the elderly. 9 out of 10 people in Gaza are displaced, living in the most awful of conditions. And with every day that the conflict goes on, conditions just get worse.
Ukrainian President Zelensky is in the US all week. He's due to speak at the UN on Wednesday and also due to present his peace plan to US President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris on Thursday. On Tuesday, he was busy with a series of bilateral meetings, even as Russian strikes killed 3 people and wounded at least 25 in the city of Kharkiv. The victory plan apparently includes a request from Ukraine to join NATO, along with permission to strike long-range targets in Russia using weapons supplied by allies. He met with the leaders of Germany, India and Japan and spoke at the Security Council about the progress he's made on a peace agreement.
Putin has stolen much already, but he will never steal the world's future. We are now preparing for the second peace summit, and we are preparing a document to present.
The UN General Assembly is on this week in New York, and Tuesday saw US President Joe Biden make his final speech to the world body. He spoke about his decision to step down from the presidential race, and he also restated his condemnation of Russia's President Putin for the 2022 invasion of Ukraine. He spoke too on the Israeli conflict, condemning the Hamas attacks of October 7th, while also expressing sympathy for the millions of Gazans going through hell. It's clear that there is still no path to a ceasefire, with reports of America's national security team becoming increasingly frustrated with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. Biden closed his speech with a call for leaders to hand over the reins of power when their time is up to protect democracy.
Being president has been the honor of my life. There's so much more I want to get done. As much as I love the job, I love my country more. I decided after 50 years of public service, it's time for a new generation of leadership to take my nation forward.
Still to come on today's Smart 7, Chelsea avoid Carabao Cup shock and Netflix drops a new catfish documentary. Right after this.
To get people excited about Boost Mobile's new nationwide 5G network, we're offering unlimited talk, text, and data for $25 a month.
Forever.
Even if you have a baby.
Even if your baby has a baby.
Even if you grow old and wrinkly and you start repeating yourself.
Even if you start repeating yourself.
Even if you're on your deathbed and you need to make one last call.
Or text.
Right, or text. The long-lost son you abandoned at birth.
You'll still get unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month with Boost Mobile.
Forever!
After 30 gigabytes, customers may experience slower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost Unlimited plan.
Forever.
Welcome back. Tuesday night saw more Carabao Cup action with 4 games as Wycombe welcomed Aston Villa, Walsall hosted Leicester, Watford travelled to Man City and Chelsea hosted EFL League 2 leaders Barrow. Leicester went to penalties against Walsall, finishing 3-0 winners. Aston Villa won 2-1 away at Wycombe and Man City went safely through with a 2-1 win against Watford. Chelsea faced Barrow but didn't blink and came away 5-0 winners with a hat-trick for Christopher Nkunku and a continuation of their unbeaten run. Manager Enzo Maresca was happy to avoid any Carabao Cup shocks.
It was a good performance. It was important to continue in the same way we are already playing last games, but especially it was important to send a message that we are a serious team. We don't underestimate any team.
There are a couple of signs that Christmas is getting closer. Firstly, Christmas chocolate appears in the supermarket aisles in September, and then somebody defrosts Michael Bublé. Well, I've already had my first chocolate Santa of the season, so it must be Bublé time. All joking aside, he's actually appearing as a judge on the US version of The Voice this year, and he's discovered that his daughter is a big fan of one of his fellow judges.
Before I left for The Voice, she goes, "Poppy, are you going to sing with Snoop?" And I said, "Yeah, honey, how do you know Snoop Dogg?"
How old is she?
She's 6.
Okay.
She goes, "Alexa, play Snoop Dogg Affirmations." And it turns out her kindergarten teacher every morning hugs all the kids and then they sit down and they play Snoop Dogg Affirmations.
If you're a podcast fan, which seems plausible as you're currently listening to one, then you may remember Sweet Bobby. It was the smash hit podcast of 2021, telling a complicated story of a near-decade-long catfish which saw Kirat Assi dragged into a long-distance relationship with a man she thought was called Bobby. Now, the podcast has been turned into a Netflix show produced by the company behind The Tinder Swindler, and you can see exactly how the drama unfolded. It drops on October 16th.
Eventually, he tells me he loves me. We try to make it as normal as he can online. But there's always an excuse why he can't see me face to face. The stroke, his mental health. Bobby's been shot several times. What is going on?
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day. Give us 7 minutes and we'll give you the world.
To make switching to the new Boost Mobile risk-free, we're offering a 30-day money-back guarantee.
So why wouldn't you switch from Verizon or T-Mobile?
Because you have nothing to lose. Boost Mobile is offering a 30-day money-back guarantee.
No, I asked why wouldn't you switch from Verizon or T-Mobile?
Oh.
Wouldn't.
Because you love wasting money as a way to punish yourself because your mother never showed you enough love as a child?
Whoa. Easy there.
Yeah.
Applies to online activations. Requires port in and auto pay. Customers activating in stores may be charged non-refundable activation fees.